So we're now moving on to our visual shortlist. Very sadly, our art judge, Mandy El-Sayed, can't be here with us tonight. She's in hospital visiting her father, who is very ill. She's written her comments, which I'm going to read. But just to say that it was really inspiring meeting Mandy for the judging meeting this year, and she was really passionate about these works, and I hope I can do justice to that passion, because it may not sort of come across in the sort of in my version of her prose, but hopefully we can all sort of channel her spirit somehow. So Mandy says, "It is a privilege to be in conversation to judge this prize, along with two brilliant forces in their respective fields. Though I spend so much of my time making art in my studio and enjoying the work of other artists, I'm not often in the position of evaluating artworks in a formal setting. The process of doing so surprised me in its capacity to offer insights into the creative process of so many excellent young artists, and offered me a perspective which was, at the same time, intimate and far-reaching. It was clear how much engagement each entrant had put into their submission. The competition was tough, and it really was tough. It was a very heated year. And there was lively debate between the judges as we sought to show each entry the consideration it deserved." So then moving on to the two shortlisted artists. She says, "I found Anna Curzon Price's work extremely impactful in the way she plays with traditional norms of display, exceeding the frame of painting into architecture and through the body. Her practice is both exploratory and expansive, and she succeeds in challenging the traditional relationship between passive art object and active viewer with innovation and passion. We were impressed by her ambition and distinctive mark-making, which took the practice into an affective realm. This is sensual, intimate work." So now I'll hand over to Anna.
I'm also going to have to do the hand slide thing, so please bear with me because the slides aren't exactly in order. So my frustration with the form of the stretched canvas, combined with the way that paint, I think, inherently lends itself to play and experimentation, means that I'm always looking for new ways to return to old tropes in art history. And most recently, my obsession has been the female nude. So today I'm going to really focus on the piece which I entered for the Ivan Juritz Prize, because I think it kind of shows my interest and also my working method most clearly. So the piece is called The Pear in Her Face, and it's a naked self-portrait which I have monoprinted onto this very fragile, translucent lantern paper. We've then stitched it together to make a cloak which covers my whole body when I wear it. Go on to the next slide. And I use the painting as clothing for a performance where I dress myself in it and then walk around the audience, much like today, and stare at each person for about 30 seconds before undressing myself again. So the idea for making this nude painting, can you go to the next? Yeah. Came from 1 month residency I did last summer at the Prado, and I was obsessed with this painting by Velázquez of the Infanta Margarita, because although she's such a tiny girl, she has so much power in this painting. And the painting, basically, her power doesn't come from the fact that she is this little girl. It really comes from her costume and like the hugely elaborate skirt that she's wearing. So it led me to ask a question of how I could make a painting of a woman which actively held power over her viewers, but without needing to disguise or hide her humanness and her vulnerability. Often my work emerges from asking myself questions about the way in which we look at paintings, and particularly female figures in paintings. And experimentation is the way that I look to answer these questions. We'll have to skip the next 2 slides because of time, but that is one experiment. I'm going to focus instead on the pear in her face. And because I'm always trying to answer these questions, my paintings kind of escape being confined to the wall, and they become sculptures, they become architectural interventions, and they become performances. So writing and sketching are really fundamental to this. In the planning process, in maintaining my focus, here you can see I've written like a manifesto for myself in my sketchbook, which helped me to maintain the ideas while I was developing the paper suit, which took several months. So we could go on to the next slide, because with this piece, photographing and filming myself in the studio were really important. On the next slide, you can see how I collaborated with my friend over there to do performances together in the studio. And it was really from this experience that I realized I had to turn the piece into a live performance, because it was only with the liveness, that, like, the vulnerability of exposing oneself to strangers and the unexpected outcomes which can come from that, could really, like, capture the fragility and the vulnerability that I think the paper suit is all about. So let's skip quite a few slides now. Those are pictures of the performance and the making process, and we'll finish on, oh, just up one. Yeah, perfect. So recently, I've just finished my degree show, and The Pear in Her Face played a really central role. So this is an installation shot. It was really exciting to see this piece alongside all of my other work, because it really helped me to see the ties which I think bring all of my practice together. It shows how fundamental having paper and paint and the experimental opportunities that these materials provide are to my work. So with paper, I feel like I can push against the expectations that I've often felt are associated with figurative painting, that it has to be contained on a flat, perfectly primed, perfectly smooth, rectangular surface. With paper, I can tear, paste, sculpt, hang, fold my drawings, and they can expand and grow, and a bit like how I feel the body acts. So painting also is, so not just the paper, but paint as well is part of this. And I'm always trying to depict people as both from their insides and from their outsides. Maybe we could skip to the next slide. And painting is all about kind of destroying and rebuilding the figure by applying and then taking away material. And I think that ultimately my works are most successful, not when they directly answer the questions that I posed, which meant that I made them in the first place, but more when they provoke questions about vulnerability and strength. Let's go back to the one just before. Perfect. The relationship between the viewer and the object of their gaze. And these are questions which I think are really important ones, because they're at the heart of all social power dynamics, and ones that I'm excited to continue to interrogate in my practice. Thanks so much for listening.